Well, welcome to this hour of service, dear friends. It's a delight to see your faces and to know your hearts, to know that we're one in our service to the Most High. My heart is full this morning, and I pray that what is brought radiantly to focus today will be a blessing to all mankind and to the one we know as our Lord and King. I'd like to begin with some powerful choral music by St. Olaf's Choir. May its sweet heavenly harmonies set a fitting tone for our hour together today. So Robert, All praise be to the Lord and King of the universe. Let's begin with a moment of devotion. Heavenly Father and Mother, we come before you in this moment in all humility as we gather for this service of praise and thanksgiving. We come open-heartedly to thank you for the gift of life and for the opportunity to serve you, to serve mankind and the whole earth in these precious moments. You fill our hearts with love, our minds with wisdom, and the temple of light with your peace. May we be guided by your presence as we live out our attunement with your all-encompassing spirit, with boldness and courage. We would become windows of heaven through which your light may come into this troubled world. That your wisdom and guidance may be released in and through us, in and through this composite body of the temple of light, in blessing to all of mankind. In the Christ. Amen. My heart is full. It's been a roller coaster of startling, world-shaking events over the past weeks, with particularly dark developments over the past weekend. But before I continue, I would like to make mention of the origin of the wondrous music we just shared. This exquisite and harmonic choral piece was performed by the St. Olaf Choir. It was commissioned by the St. Olaf Festival in Trondheim, Norway. It is entitled, Even When He Is Silent, and was composed by Kim Andre Arneson and recorded in concert at Nidaros Cathedral in Trondheim, Norway. As I understand it, the text used in this piece was found shortly after the dark days of World War II, scratched into the wall of an underground chamber used by several Jewish families who had been hiding from the Nazis. I do not know what became of them, but the text gives evidence of their steadfast faith in the one God of love, truth, and life. It was translated as follows. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in love, even when I feel it not. I believe in God, even when he is silent. We find ourselves in potentially dark days once again, and the attitude of those who were determined to live through the horror of their day is, to my mind, instructive and inspiring. Indeed, once again, there are human beings now who have been marginalized and are being hunted today as well. Human beings who ultimately are only seeking refuge from suffering, injustice in their own homelands, and wish only for peace, freedom, and a relatively better life for themselves and their families. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. I believe in love, even when I feel it not. I believe in God, even when he is silent. To believe, in the deepest sense, means to have an unshakable faith in the reality of something, to have an unshakable confidence in that reality, to somehow know it to the bone, to one's core, not as but a hopeful fantasy. I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining. The character of the Most High God is an eternally radiating reality. And as it's been said, the light shines in the darkness, but the darkness comprehends it not. In fact, light travels through unimaginable light years of distance, through darkest space, and yet is unseen until consciousness discerns it. It's unseen until it's reflected. Then it appears. We see it. Thus, it is always and forever shining, even when it seems not to be. Likewise, the light of truth and love that we love only becomes visible when we reflect it. And as emissaries of divine light, we delight to let this happen through our capacities. We know, and we know that we know, that it shines even through the darkest night. Our sun is indeed radiating constantly, transforming various elements via nuclear processes into the light that gives warmth and life to our world and all who dwell herein. Thankfully, we are here together today and have been blessed by reason of our responsive movement upwards towards a deeper knowing of ourselves and of life itself. Because we were so richly blessed along the way by those who had the spiritual integrity, authority, and vision to lift us up and encourage us along the path. By those blessed ones who quietly and steadily encouraged us to be our authentic, angelic selves, to give that expression. Of course, along the way, we found ourselves gaining a deeper and more rounded understanding of divine principles and values. We began to naturally apply them in our living. In turn, we found that we were in a position to bless others who likewise were seeking a deeper awareness of spiritual realities. Indeed, we have much to be thankful for. So here we are in the Temple of Light this morning, individually and collectively providing a blessing to all mankind, and indeed to the whole earth, simply by being an open window of heaven into the whole earth. we find that our spiritual collective is a vehicle through which the creative and nurturing radiance of the Most High can connect up with and transform everything in and on this planet, even if it seems to be in the midst of darkest night. And such radiant enfoldment is certainly needed now at this point. Several weeks ago, David sent a quote of Martin's along with the invitation to this service. And it has been key in my considerations this week. I'd like to read the first two sentences from it, and then we'll come back to it a little later as our service develops. Quote, world events are the magnified surface evidences of the Spirit of God in action. World events are the magnified surface evidences of the Spirit of God in action. And those who share the voice of the Lord, speaking in his name, are the Spirit of God in action. These two sentences tell us the why of what is transpiring now in the world. Eugen told us recently that we shouldn't be surprised with the norm-shattering changes, such as those he felt in South Korea. And indeed, here in America and beyond. I too have been keenly aware of what's been unfolding here and internationally. And I'm sure that to varying degrees we all have. In fact, to the degree that we as individuals and as a group are in attunement with the character of God Almighty, we are a vehicle for his voice. And thus, we have played our part and are playing our part in bringing these recent events to the surface. By identifying with the force that is acting upon the world pattern, we are allowing this spirit of transformation to intensify. As Martin stated, world events are the magnified surface evidences of the Spirit of God in action. Let us continue to meditate upon these words in the days to come. I think we can all agree that mankind has been slow to learn the hard-won lessons of our past history. After the most recent 10,000 years of civilization, there are yet wars and rumors of wars. There have been famines, plagues, geological upheavals, and diseases of various kinds. And even relatively golden ages have almost inevitably been followed by barbarous ones. Clearly, though, there has been the slow dawning of a widespread acceptance of the need for certain mutually beneficial laws and principles that have mitigated even the worst conditions. For example, we have Hammurabi's Code, the Ten Commandments, various cautionary tales, myths, and legends from the world around. We have numerous religious writings from all faiths. More recently, there was the Declaration of Independence, the US Constitution, the various Geneva Conventions, the United Nations, the NATO Accords, and various non-nuclear proliferation treaties, the GATT, the Paris Climate Accords, and many, many other treaties and laws that seek to keep individuals safe, both from themselves and others. But particularly, I must point this morning to the spiritual regeneration program inaugurated by Yolanda and Martin and carried forward by ourselves and others. Now, we're once again at a tipping point. Climate-wise, as well as the ever-present lusting after riches, power, and hegemony by individuals, corporations, and countries. One would think that we're almost incapable of learning. However, we know that there's also been a stable, eternal power present, whose loving kindness towards mankind seems to have kept us keeping on. Many profess to love and serve this one. But of course, there have been countless religious wars as well. And still at the personal and national level, there remains the hatred of the other and a callous unconcern for orphans and the poor. Self-centeredness yet prevails 20,000 years after the fall. And the fact that someone only 80 years ago had to hide in war-torn Europe from extermination squads is both damning and heartbreaking. Yet, if one looks at the remains of the Gaza Strip today, one can plainly and painfully see that we haven't come a good deal farther. But even so, whoever had the light within them to etch that message into that basement wall obviously hadn't given up their belief and hope in an eternal God. They knew that whatever happened, no matter how dark it seemed, no one could destroy that knowing, that reality. So yes, we are a light in the dark times of the present. In fact, the international democratic rules and values-based order has been upended this week by a small cadre of self-described geniuses and their minions. And I make no judgment. This is simply a fact. Kim Jong-un mocked. Putin gloated. And a room full of world leaders at the Munich summit this weekend pointedly sat on their hands and didn't applaud either the speech by the US Defense Secretary nor that of the US Vice President. One commentator, taking the long view, remarked that all the developments of late constituted, quote, a dream come true for autocrats, communists, fascists, and oligarchs worldwide. Yes, we indeed live and serve in challenging times. But the sun is shining. There's overwhelming evidence of beauty and love in individuals and families everywhere. Nature overwhelms us with its beauty, with its design. We need to just take the time to look, appreciate, to give thanks for the eternal realities. Yeah, you could say it's been quite a week. I'm sure we're all aware of a number of these machinations and the mostly illegal and illiberal overreach being used to carry them out. These things are happening roundabout and have an awful and heartbreaking effect on many individuals. But again, as emissaries, we rightly view things from above the fray, doing our very best not to become emotionally reactive to what occurs on Earth. Of course, that doesn't mean that we don't feel some of these things deeply. Yet when we do, we know how to look up. Our centering is in the maintained heaven, in what we've called the vibrational arc. And we're concerned with only one thing: walking with God. Being so wholly absorbed into his vast majesty and wholeness and the reality of his love, of his divine design. And we delight to be a part, an active, radiant part of its coming. Our approach to such an upheaval is being in position mentally, vibrationally, in order to let his will be done on earth as it is in heaven. To let the light come in, to let it shine round about. And as Martin underlined, at this juncture, it can only be done as there is a collective spiritual body of men and women in angelic identity, connected up with this awesome power. For it is in this coupling that the divine design is extended into the earth, moment by moment. In other words, we either act with the divine design or get out of the way. Any other response is to shirk our heavenly and our earthly responsibilities. Yes, I take great solace in Martin's words, which I mentioned at the outset of our service. And as always, they were and are both prophetic and instructive. And by the way, let me just underline for a moment that the focalizations that Martin and Yolanda hold in the divine design for this planet are present with us in this very moment. We are not alone. They are present here with us in spirit. They've blessed us immensely as we've woken up to our divine responsibilities, and they continue on with us. They're cheering us on, so to speak. As we well know, with that blessing comes a special responsibility. And I thank God for both of them in this moment. Let us make them proud. I'd like to read a few paragraphs from the words that David sent, that Martin spoke. World events are the magnified surface evidences of the Spirit of God in action. Those who share the voice of the Lord, speaking in his name, are the Spirit of God in action. As there are such who have assumed spiritual responsibility, the controlled fulfillment of the creative purposes of God in this world must come to pass. There was one who lived on earth many centuries ago who accepted this supreme spiritual responsibility. Jesus. He opened a door for the restoration of man at some future time. He also made sure that human nature would receive the fullness of the results of its own action, and it would be dissolved. We live in the day of its dissolution. Surface events in the world proclaim this movement. The dissolution of human nature is at hand. How closely at hand remains to be seen, as no man knoweth the day or the hour, not even the angels of heaven. That fulfillment comes as there are those who speak the word of the Lord on earth, who share this voice. Even the Master himself could not bring that fulfillment as one person. My concern has always been to find those who would share my voice, who would speak with me, that the Spirit of God might be adequately in action in the body and consciousness of mankind on earth. It is provided in this one composite body. And each member of that body must know for him or herself. The spiritual leadership of a single individual has long ago been rejected by the children of men. So that opportunity will not be repeated. The only way left is by reason of this composite body, the true vine of which the Master spoke. And the fruit of that true vine is the spiritual action which brings forth what is to be brought forth throughout the body and consciousness of mankind. It is happening now. Spiritual leadership and authority is present on earth. Do you think that there are those who are capable of acknowledging that authority and saying, I am the voice? As for this wayfarer, I stand and I answer, I am. Our Master said, by their fruits ye shall know them. And I repeat, the fruit of that true vine is the spiritual action which brings forth what is to be brought forth throughout the body and the consciousness of mankind. It is happening now. The spiritual leadership and authority is present on earth. And perhaps you could carry on.
Thank you, Gary. I'd like to move into another mode of articulation next by calling into our imaginations the fact that we are occupying a temple here. We can look around and feel the arches and the high ceiling, perhaps, whatever images. And here we are as angels in this temple. So I'd like to speak that voice that you were speaking of, Gary, on behalf of us all by reading various statements offered by Yolanda, by Martin, and also by myself. And I'd like these statements to be ringing out through the windows, into the heavens and deep into the earth as we listen to these large thinking men and women. There is one spirit. We could identify that by using the word love. It is present because of the one primary substance. The primary substance, which is love, is not substance as substance is known by the human mind, but all substance is love. The spirit and substance of love is differentiated and modified so that it might be said that there are 7 primary spirits and 7 primary modifications of substance. There is, in fact, only one substance and one spirit, even though that substance may be modified in various ways, and that spirit may be differentiated in various ways, but it all emerges out of the one unified heaven and earth, spirit and substance. The reality of love has remained almost entirely beyond the veil. Love is an outgoing power, a positive, radiant, creating power. Meditate on this fact, that at center, where all we know originates, there is love. Creation is dynamic. This ongoing process of creation is called the creative process. There is constant creation. Before substance is, there is what is called latent substance. This is beyond the activation of love as yet. Therefore, it is nothing, because there is nothing outside of love. In that power is the power of differentiation. The essential factor of differentiation, by reason of the power of love, is what is called truth. Truth, the spirit and substance of truth, is simply a differentiation of the spirit of love and a modification of the substance of love. Man has been gifted with the ability to create. Humans can and have created forms, including forms called vibrations, thoughts, and emotions, by stealing love substance from substance that originated out of love. But these forms are not of love. They are of the unreal. You can say they are nothing. They are counterfeits. They are not true differentiations of love. In that nothingness of unreality, human minds discover imaginary things to be known. Here's something that is important in these days. It's about our hearts. The human heart has the ability to perceive these unreal but factual vibrations, thinking, emotions. They are consciously and subconsciously felt due to the ability of the heart. The human heart feels through our bodies, through our minds, and is felt by our spirit. What is often overlooked is that these creations that we are feeling are not activated by the power of love and will eventually pass away. As eternal angels, we are able to acknowledge this temporary state. So, what is the wisdom of the heart? Simply don't blend, or resonate with, or give life force to the unreal. Receive content for your heart from the Lord. Be the one I am, made in the image and likeness of the Creator. Express the positive power of love in our earthly capacities. When love is expressed by man, true man, in alignment with the creative process, this activates latent substance into new and unexpected forms. When we do so, we are consciously engaging with the power of the creative process, constantly underway, which makes all things new. The creative process is in the awareness of man once more. When love activates in alignment with the creative process, true design and control are differentiated and made manifest. This activates untrue differentiations, outs the counterfeits. What is true will eventually expose what is untrue. It's useful to realize that what was hidden and untrue is very old news. These things have been tried and tried and tried since the fall, you might say. They are visible now, but they are passing away. Untrue forms are programmed to die. True forms always grow. Isn't this liberating? Here's what Martin said in 87. Do you think anything is going to be preserved in the realm of form as we know it now? If you're stuck in the realm of form, you are stuck in something that is not going to be preserved. There is no safe place in the realm of form. This has been true all along, actually, but in the past, at least, it seemed as though one could dig a hole in the ground and hide oneself for a while. But we are discovering that the fact is that there is no safe place in the realm of form. And that puts everybody on the spot. Because if you imagine that the only safety is in the realm of form, you're sunk. The safe place is in the ark, and the ark is a vibrational ark. When we are familiar in our living with this vibrational ark, there we are. There we are, even though we may still be at the moment in form. Here are some questions. Is all this more obvious because we are now more aware? Yes. Is it because the unreality is more visible? Yes. Can we address this external purification as touching, connected to, mirroring what is purifying internally? Yes. Can we or will we be content to allow the creative process to continue its work? Are we willing to play our conscious part as spiritual leaders, as activators of the power of the spirit of love? Will we allow the substance of love to transmute what can be transmuted and allow what is unreal to pass away? Are we willing to be part of the controlled expression of the Spirit of God on earth? Are we recognizing other angels as generating the reality of the vibrational arc? So these thoughts, these words, this reality is going out right now because of each one of you who have the conscious awareness of these matters, of these realities. Because we are aware, that is proof of the fact that the creative process is working. If we weren't aware of it, we wouldn't be participating in it. And that's what we're here to do. That's why we've come in these days. We were called. So here we are to be that voice that Gary was speaking of, each of us, and to make our collective voice be sounded and go forth and not be troubled by what is happening on the surface, by what is erupting, but know the true reality, which is the power of the spirit of love and substance. That is the true reality. That's where we live. That's what we are seeing. That's what we are aware of. This is priceless, that this is present on the earth. I'd like to thank you for listening. We've been filling your time. Thank you for sharing it. And now I'd like to turn our morning over to Steve.
And such a potent time you and Gary led us in, and it's almost like unmasking the hypnosis that maybe brings sleepiness to our consciousness. But as we hang with it and something opens up, we realize the purpose of our reason for being here on earth, for the restoration to occur collectively. Those are some of my thoughts. Maybe you have some thoughts too to share and to affirm agreement in this way. So the floor is open.
Well, I would step into that substance. Thank you, Gary. And thank you, Anne, for your differentiation of love. And I join you on letting that vibration go forth. Isn't it great to have a body of substance, a body of unified agreement, knowing these things? We don't have to be educated, but we know them to the depth of our being. And it is the passion that carries that today, this substance of love that not just transforms things, but it allows for the process of transmutation and a different state. And so how important it is, as you've said, not to buy into all these disruptions and things that could be a distraction. Oh, look at this in the news and that. And the central way of love, the powerful way of love made manifest through our agreement and differentiated through that and through our living, generating that substance every day and every moment of opportunity. Thank you.
It is so easy to be in agreement with the truth, and the truth reigns in each of us as we live our lives as we have been taught for many years, in awe and by being inspired by the Word of God. That's what brings us together. And that's where the power is. And that's where the light is. So, my friends, let's be together in that.
Yes, I too want to voice my deep thanks for the strength of the radiation, Gary and Anne, that you've offered, and that you chose to speak directly into what is happening in our world right now and not avoid it. All that you have expressed of what it is that we are here to do, I know deep in my bones also. And I just want to share that yesterday, as I was unpacking many boxes with an aching body and listening to particularly what was happening in the meetings in Europe and commentaries about it, as well as some things of conversation in the US, among US senators, I was actually heartened, and I had a different perspective than I have had, that what seems to be an imposition and bullying, rather arrogant, is actually calling forth strength in those that have it, calling forth their mettle and their willingness to stand for what is true. And I think that is part of this large creative process where the world is letting dissolve what is unreal. And what will be left is, as you described, Gary, we even see so much evidence of it now, the beauty of nature, the beauty of our Lord's design. And I imagine sometimes people in Gaza, they don't have that. They don't even have the beauty of nature to look at. Can we retain that confidence in the midst of what might become even more stark? I think so. I know I can. Thank you very much for this very powerful radiation together.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all the words that have been spoken today, which have been nourishment.
Gary, I want to just acknowledge what you did in calling out the prophets of Baal. So cleverly, so boldly, and at the same time issued a word of kindly invitation. While the prophets did their dance, something else was going on somewhere else. And these things that you spoke of needed to come out in our midst. And I love the artistry in the way that you did it.
Yeah.
Free of judgment and criticism and blame, but definitely acknowledging that there are horrific things that are being called out into the open in these days. As Anne said, all that is untrue is becoming exposed. She also said it was old news. I think that's an important point to take note of, that a lot of this is very, very old stuff coming up into the present moment, and it needs to have people present who are living in the present moment and can see it for what it is. A shadow of something that has really been passing away for a long time. And as you said, Anne, the untrue is programmed to die, to pass away.
Yes.
Something we, I think, could really take heart in relative to that, that the real is programmed to grow. And so our work in vibrational ministry is to let the real grow and not give life, feed life to the prophets of Baal that are dancing in the world and doing what they can do to attract attention, because they need to be fed. And they'll be fed by you and by me, and we will be devoured if we don't turn our attention in the other direction and actually do the feeding of the real food through our service, our vibrational ministry. So it's really important in these days, I feel, to pay attention to the things that both of you brought so beautifully to focus, and to see what's happening vibrationally in the world of the prophets of Baal, but also see what's happening in the upper ranges of the heaven that we live in, where the vibrations of that which is totally new. This is the good news. This is the real news. And provide a transparent heart and a clear mind and a well cared for body temple, so that what is coming from above can move through us in vibrational service that is bringing the good news, and that causes what needs to grow, and what needs to pass away, and not be deceived by what's passing away and try to save it, because we will then become food for Moloch. And we're not here to be devoured in that way, but to be consumed by the fire and let it have its way with us. So beautiful.
Absolutely.
To have this time to be together, exploring these things, facing facts, the facts of the outer world that is passing away, and the facts of the heaven that is coming, the new heaven. I'm really grateful for you both and what you did here.
Thank you so much, David. Brothers and sisters, I want to thank you for your patience, your indulgence. And I'd like to finish with this. No matter what goes on at home or internationally, let us take comfort in the fact that the law works. Let us walk with God. Let his power, glory, and justice be in evidence through us. For as there is this flow through, touching all those things, the outflow of divine blessing overpowers and dissolves all that would dare usurp his eternal power and use it for their own selfish and deluded ends. So as we live upon the rock of reality here together, we know, and we know that we know, we walk with the Most High as his servants on earth. We trust the foundational laws of the cosmos, absolutely. In every moment, let us continue. Let us continue to let this knowing give evidence of integrity and common decency and love for our fellows. And thus, His love is active and it's in expression on earth because we are all magnifying it. So praise be to the Most High. My love and blessings to all.
And do you have anything to say?
Thank you. I'd like to say something before we close.
Go ahead.
I feel like a very important direct action was taken today through the two of you principally and through the comments shared. And in a way, the gauntlet is thrown. And Gary, you said we live in the days of the dissolution of human nature. And you spoke the words of Martin, there's no safe place in the realm of form. And do we think that, well, the world as we have known it, the forms as we have known it will be preserved? Do you think that? And his answer was no. And we have heard these words before, but it was always for a time in the future. Well, this week, the fact of it not being so much a time in the future, it became a little more evident. And we are rapidly moving into this time. And the direct action, the gauntlet, is really come free of form, come free of all attachment, come to zero. And I want to finish my comment with this image. And the image is God walking in cataclysm. And in this image, there's two things, cataclysm and there's God walking. Cataclysm at the level of form can take a lot of attention. But we're not here to give any attention to that. We are here to give sole attention to be God walking. And God walking is what the cycle is about. It's not about the cataclysm. Let's let all concern about cataclysm be gone, and all concern be to be God walking. And this matter of God walking, as Marcia spoke about these, I guess, European leaders, in a way, coming to a greater place of courage in themselves, that is a form of God walking. And as we at the very core, spiritual core, are God walking, then those further out will feel the presence of God walking and will be strengthened to be God walking on earth in the midst of whatever levels and forms of cataclysm they are. So to me, the direct action taken today is to say to the world, God is walking through some, through us, and may you be God walking as changes intensify, as all hell breaks loose at the level of form. That's perfectly fine. It has to happen. It has to get cleansed. All that matters, we be God walking and strengthen those in the world who can be God walking. And that is the vibrational arc. God walking is the vibrational arc. So thank you so much, the two of you, for the strong message you put forth.
And I think it's worth remembering now that this body that we are walks with God, and it has from the beginning. And there never has been a time that it hasn't walked with God since Yoronda came and Martin was here. And there have been those who have held this body alive and true. So that now in its expanded form and the expanding processes of taking form, this body continues to walk with God. And so we must take care in the days to come of the little things that arise. Take care in how we think and what we say and where we go and why we go there. So much depends upon our presence. And each one has the God being who gave birth to this individual body temple and to this larger body has invested so much over the years, and it's not to be taken lightly, our responsibility. And we don't want any unfortunate things to occur because of a slip anywhere in thought or word or deed. So great care of one another and great care of the body temple that has been built so that we can live and serve in this time. Yeah. So I look at you and I recognize that you are in my hands and in my heart, and I am in yours, and we are brother's keeper, so that this body continues to walk with God, with the individuals in it rightly, and this body is taken up in the spirit of the Word and becomes the Word made flesh. So it's been beautiful to let these things really be emphasized in our midst today. And I agree wholeheartedly with you, Eugen, that what you, Gary, and you, Anne, have brought is of a gauntlet thrown and a challenge to the prophets of Baal and a challenge and an invitation to all who are ready to walk with God and be the voice in the world.
Bless you all. I've asked Robert to play us out with my composition, The Dancing Wu Li Masters. Robert?
At Kroger, an annual Boost membership just got even better. Now you can choose from Disney Plus with ads, Hulu with ads, or
The world tends to intrude. How goes it, Robert? There we go.